Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
We're always looking for ways to improve ourselves and our lives.
And today's topic is one that I think a lot of us struggle with, and especially, with remote work
The
and
whole always on culture, right?
yeah, finding that work-life integration.
Exactly.
So we're diving into a podcast episode today called
Unmatched strategies for effective work-life integration.
from a show called Balance and Thrive.
Awesome show.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be really helpful for our listeners who are always looking for ways to, be more efficient.
And really get the most out of life.
Yeah, so let's jump right in.
Sounds good.
So this episode starts off by talking about prioritizing what really matters.
Mhm.
And they have this great analogy about a North Star, kind of guiding you when everything feels foggy and, overwhelming.
I love that analogy
Yeah.
because it really speaks to the idea of having a clear sense of direction even when things are chaotic. And I think that's so important in today's world where there are so many distractions and demands on our time.
Right.
It's easy to get pulled in a million different directions.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you have that North Star, you know what your core values are. You can always come back to that.
And it's interesting because they say, it's not just about making a to-do list.
Right.
It's about really identifying those core values.
Like what truly matters to you.
Yeah, what lights you up.
Exactly.
Not what, society or your boss or whoever tells you should be important.
Yeah, it's about what makes you feel fulfilled and aligned with your true self.
Right. And I think that's so important because if you're not aligned with your own values, you're going to end up feeling drained and dissatisfied.
Absolutely. Even if you're achieving all the things that you're supposed to be achieving,
Right, exactly.
it's that inner compass that really matters.
So they suggest actually writing down your top 3 values.
Good idea.
What are those things that are non-negotiable for you? Is it family time? Is it creative expression? Is it adventure?
Whatever it is for you.
Yeah. And, they even say, don't dismiss having fun as a frivolous value.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
Because fun is so important.
Yeah.
It's what makes life worth living.
And it actually, they were saying it can boost creativity and productivity.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like a win-win.
When you're having fun, you're more engaged, you're more creative, you're more productive.
It's like it all works together.
And it spills over into all areas of your life.
Right.
So make time for fun.
Yeah. And that's what I love about this whole work-life integration thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about, just fluffy self-care.
Right.
It's about strategies that actually benefit both your work and your personal life.
It's about finding that synergy.
Right.
Where everything works together.
Yeah. And so once you've identified those values, they say the next step is to establish some really solid boundaries.
Ah, yes. Boundaries.
Which I think is especially important, in our world where we're constantly connected.
It's so easy for work to bleed into our personal lives.
It is.
And vice versa.
Right. It's like we're always on.
Checking emails during dinner or brainstorming ideas during family movie night.
Yeah.
It's like the lines have become so blurred.
They have. And, the episode actually shared this funny story about someone who accidentally joined a family dinner on Zoom because they forgot to log off from work.
Oh, no.
I know.
That's hilarious.
Right. And it's like a perfect example of how easy it is for those lines to get blurred.
Mm-hmm.
And so while some flexibility is great, constantly being on can really lead to burnout.
And resentment.
Yes.
It's like running a marathon without ever stopping to rest.
So true.
You're just going to crash and burn.
Yeah. So how do we draw those lines in the sand?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
Well, the episode talks about creating a designated workspace, even if you're working from home.
Oh.
So it could be a separate room or even just a corner of your kitchen table.
Yeah.
Or a specific chair that signals work mode.
I like that.
Yeah, it's about having a visual cue that helps your brain switch gears.
So you're training yourself to associate that space with work.
Exactly. And just as importantly, to step away from it when it's time to clock out.
That's a good point.
It's about creating that separation.
Yeah, I think that's especially important for people who are new to remote work and haven't really figured out that separation yet.
Right.
I know I struggled with that myself. When
Yeah.
I first started working from home, I was working from my couch all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like I was never really off.
I could see how that would be a problem.
Yeah, I was definitely blurring the lines.
But, by creating that separation, you're not just protecting your personal time.
Right.
You're also setting yourself up for better focus and productivity when you're working.
That makes so much sense.
It's like you're giving your brain a break.
Right.
And allowing it to recharge.
Yeah, so you can come back to work feeling refreshed and focused.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got our North Star values. And we've got our boundaries in place.
Chicken check.
But how do we actually structure our days to make this all work?
The million-dollar question.
Well, the episode talks about mindful scheduling,
Ooh, I like that.
and they compare it to a game of Tetris.
Well, that's a good one.
Right? It's about strategically fitting those blocks of work and personal commitments into your day.
Rather than just letting them fall wherever they may.
Right. And that means being realistic about how much you can actually accomplish.
Yes.
How many times have you overcommitted yourself and ended up feeling stressed and overwhelmed?
Oh, all the time.
Right. I think we all do that.
Yeah.
But the key is to be intentional with your time. And that involves blocking out time for yourself, just like you would for any other important meeting.
Exactly.
And they emphasize that me time is not a luxury.
It's a necessity.
Yeah.
It's essential for your well-being.
Right. And it's about scheduling those activities that bring you joy and recharge your batteries.
Whether it's yoga or reading or taking a walk in nature.
Whatever fills you up.
Exactly.
And it's interesting because they say, think of it as an investment. You're investing in your well-being.
Because when you feel good, you work better.
Right.
You're more present with your loved ones. You show up as your best self in all areas of your life.
Yeah, it's like a ripple effect.
Exactly.
Okay, so speaking of things that can be both beneficial and detrimental to our well-being.
Oh, yes.
Let's talk about technology.
The double-edged sword.
It really is.
It can be a powerful tool for productivity and connection, but it can also be a major source of distraction and overwhelm.
It's true.
So we need to be mindful of how we use it.
Right, rather than letting it use us.
Exactly.
So the episode suggests utilizing productivity apps, but with a word of caution,
Okay.
don't become a slave to them.
Right.
It's about using technology intentionally,
Yes.
not letting it dictate your every move.
I love that.
Yeah. So for example, setting timers for work tasks can be helpful, as can taking regular breaks from screens. And here's a simple but effective tip.
Okay.
Disable work-related notifications after hours.
Oh, that's a good one.
You don't need that constant pinging reminding you of unfinished tasks when you're supposed to be relaxing.
So true.
It's like setting boundaries with technology.
Creating that separation between work and personal life, even in the digital realm.
Exactly.
I like that.
So, I think we've covered a lot of ground already.
Yeah, we have.
From identifying core values to setting boundaries to mindful scheduling.
We've laid the groundwork for a more balanced and fulfilling life.
But we're not done yet.
Oh, there's more.
We'll be back soon with part 2 of this deep dive,
Can't wait.
where we'll explore even more strategies for work-life integration, including some surprising insights about the power of small wins.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, and the importance of self-reflection.
Awesome.
So stay tuned.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back to our deep dive on work-life integration.
We've already covered some great strategies for creating a more balanced life.
From those core values to boundaries.
Right. And today I'm excited to kind of dig into some of those nuances of work-life integration.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, so one thing that really stood out to me from the podcast episode was this idea of celebrating those small wins.
Oh, yeah.
It's easy to get so caught up in the hustle and bustle of life and only focus on what's not working.
Right. Always striving for that perfect balance.
Which, might not even exist.
Yeah.
But by acknowledging those small victories, like leaving work on time or finally blocking out that me time, you're basically rewiring your brain to focus on the positive.
Yeah, it's like instead of beating yourself up for not being perfect,
Right.
you're giving yourself a little pat on the back.
Exactly. And, those small wins can have a ripple effect.
How so?
Well, they boost your mood. They increase your motivation.
Oh, yeah.
They make you more likely to stick with those healthy habits.
It's like a positive feedback loop.
Exactly. A positive feedback loop for a more balanced life.
I love that.
Now, on the flip side of celebrating wins,
Okay.
there's also the importance of self-reflection. Taking a few minutes each week to kind of assess what's working and what's not.
It's like a mini performance review, but with yourself.
Exactly. Without your boss breathing down your neck.
Right.
Just asking yourself those simple questions like, what am I doing well? What could I improve on?
Yeah, are my boundaries slipping? Am
Yeah.
I honoring my values?
Exactly. And maybe you're rocking it in one area but feeling depleted in another. The key is to be honest with yourself and,
Yeah.
Make adjustments as needed.
Because it's a journey.
It is a journey, not a destination.
Right. It's about constantly fine-tuning and adapting as life changes.
Exactly. Because life is always changing.
Always.
So our approach to work-life balance needs to be adaptable too.
Okay, so let's talk about something that can be really overwhelming these days.
Okay, what's that?
Just the constant influx of information and demands on our time.
Oh, yeah, it's like we're expected to be available 24/7,
Right, and those lines between work and personal life have become so blurred.
especially with technology and, our digitally connected world.
It's true.
That's why setting those boundaries is even more crucial now.
So how do we manage all that?
Well, the episode talks about being proactive with communication.
Okay.
So instead of feeling like you have to respond to every email and message immediately,
Right.
set specific times for checking and responding.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's about taking back control of your time and attention.
And setting those expectations with colleagues and clients and even family and friends.
Exactly, letting them know when you're available and when you need to disconnect.
Because it's not selfish to prioritize your well-being.
Not at all.
It's essential for showing up as your best self.
Right, and it's about respecting your own time
Mm.
as much as you respect the time of others.
Which can sometimes involve having those difficult conversations.
Yeah, sometimes you have to have those tough conversations.
Yeah. But it's crucial for maintaining that balance.
Exactly. In the long run, it's worth it.
Okay, so once you've established those boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
the next challenge is actually honoring them.
Ah, yes, that's the tricky part,
It is because it's so easy to slip back into old habits.
especially when you're stressed or overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So that's where mindfulness comes in.
Okay.
Being aware of those moments when you're tempted to cross your own boundaries
Mm-hmm.
and making a conscious choice to stay true to yourself.
Recognizing those patterns.
Exactly like checking your phone during dinner.
Yeah, or working late into the night.
Right. And gently redirecting yourself.
Back to those boundaries.
Exactly. And this leads to another important point,
Okay.
which is being present
Being present.
in whatever role you're inhabiting at the moment.
So if you're at work, be fully at work.
Exactly. And when you're with family or friends, put those work thoughts aside.
Easier said than done,
Oh, definitely. It takes practice.
but even small steps can make a difference.
Absolutely. So the episode suggests things like taking a few deep breaths
Okay.
before transitioning between work and personal time.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Or setting an intention for how you want to show up in each role.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Just those little rituals can be really grounding,
Mm-hmm.
helping us shift our focus more intentionally.
And they talk about scheduling activities that bring you joy and fulfillment.
Yes. Make time for the things that nourish your soul.
Right. Whether it's a creative hobby or spending time in nature or simply relaxing.
It's about giving yourself permission to prioritize your well-being.
And recognizing that those activities are not selfish indulgences.
Exactly. They're essential for replenishing your energy
So you can show up as your best self.
in all areas of your life.
Okay, so I know we've thrown a lot of information at you.
We have. It's a lot to digest.
So let's take a moment to pause and reflect.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, exploring strategies for setting boundaries, prioritizing our time, and being more present.
But there's still more to come.
Yes, we'll be back for the final part of this deep dive, where we'll wrap things up and offer some actionable steps you can take.
To create a more balanced and fulfilling life.
So stay tuned.
All right, we are back for the final part of our deep dive into work-life integration.
It's been a journey, right? We've explored so many things about this idea of balancing work and life.
Exactly. And you know what really sticks with me is that it's about owning our time.
Taking control. Yeah, instead of letting the world just run us over.
And the podcast actually said that, it's not about some perfect balance.
Right? There's no magic formula.
It's about finding what works for you.
And being flexible, too, because our needs change.
Exactly. What works now might not work in a year.
Life is always changing.
Yeah, and that's okay.
The important thing is having those strategies and being able to adapt.
And giving ourselves permission to adjust things,
Absolutely, because this whole thing, it's so personal.
It really is. There's no one right way.
And something I thought was cool was that, you're not alone in this.
Oh, yeah. There are tons of resources out there.
Books, articles, other podcasts, even coaches.
People who can really help.
Absolutely.
And don't forget, connecting with other people
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
who are also trying to, balance it all.
Sharing experiences is so helpful.
Yeah. And, it's like having a cheering squad for your well-being.
Exactly. Support is everything.
Well, speaking of support, it's about time for us to wrap up this deep dive.
Oh, man, time flies.
It does. We've talked about so much, from values to boundaries to technology.
So much good stuff.
So as we close things out, we want to leave you with this one final thought.
Okay, Abby.
Work-life integration isn't about reaching some impossible ideal.
It's not about perfection, right?
It's about creating a life that feels real.
And fulfilling. Like, It's truly yours.
So remember, prioritize the things that matter
Set those healthy boundaries
and make conscious choices about how you spend your time,
because this is a journey.
not a race.
Be patient with yourself
Yeah.
and, celebrate how far you've come.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into work-life integration.
We'll see you next time.
Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep creating a life you love.